To live stream the meeting. The force has worked. It's showing we're live on Facebook. Hello, everybody. If you're here for the noon live cast, noon Eastern.
Oh,
I'm very Eastern centric in my time orientation. Our guests they're from another dimension, literally. So if you're here for the live cast with Justine and Larissa and to talk about all things Starship Therapise, you are in the right place. I'm just gonna do a little technical things on my phone to bounce this over to my personal page. Yes, go ahead, hold it up, Justine.
good job,
Yeah,
Justine.
there it
People
is.
know
There it
what
is.
they're here for. And I'm excited to getting our conversation launched and off the ground. And if you are here in real time, I don't know if you saw any of the. Now it's showing we're a big blank box on Facebook.
Oh,
Oh no, it's showing up
Oh,
now.
there we go.
If you can, it's showing like we have three people live with us right now. If you can just put in the comments if you're seeing us, that would be very helpful. Because I'm showing on my
Yeah.
computer that all three of us are showing up. On my phone, it's looking a little like a blank, dark void.
Yeah, that's what I'm seeing for me as well
On the phone, yeah.
on the phone. Yes. And
oh, I
actually,
see us. If you hit play.
yeah.
Oh, great.
Oh,
Oh, you
good.
have to hit play.
Yeah.
It's
Justine, are
really
you logged into the Facebook account as Starship Therapise?
Yes. Would you like me to do that?
If you can log in as Starship Therapise, then you can share it because I just shared it to my
Justine.
personal page. But are you logged into the Facebook account as Starship Therapise?
Yes. Would you like me to do that?
If you can log in as
Where is that coming from?
because I just shared it to my personal page.
Oh, isn't this fun? Bunch of nerds who aren't very
Make
tech
sure,
savvy.
and make sure that your volume's down on
If
your
you can
phone.
log in as
Where is that coming from?
Don't worry about it. You can always share the
Oh,
replay
isn't
later.
this fun?
Yeah, let's share the replay later, Justine.
Yeah.
Just turn that old phone off.
Is it me? Am I the one doing this?
Yes.
How many therapists
Don't
does
worry
it
about
take
it.
to replay later?
Yeah, let's share the replay later, Justine.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Turn that
Okay.
old phone off.
Is it me?
How many therapists does it take to do a live cast? It's a common question. So welcome to those of you who are joining us. I have a confirmation that we're being seen perfectly on Facebook.
Good.
And yeah, a lot of people end up watching the replays later. So whoever's here with us live, you will be eligible to win.
Look at how well read that is.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
look at that.
already marked up and all of that. And I'll be talking about some of the work I've been doing going through the book. It's been pretty amazing. And
Yay.
yeah, so I am happy to be joined by the authors of Starship Therapise today, Larisa Garski and Justine Mastin. Justine, I had the privilege of meeting in person and sharing some work at her studio a few years ago. Larissa, I'm just meeting for the first time. And I am just so in love with this new book. I've been able to read through 4 chapters of it and do some of the exercises, and it is just phenomenal. And I also want to give a shout out to North Atlantic Books, who is one of my publishers. And so naturally, when I saw you two were working with them, I just got very excited because they have been awesome at really opening up the doors to just a lot of creativity and just really good organic healing. So let's start with, how did you two meet?
Larissa, would you like to tell this story?
I would love to tell this
I know
story.
it's one of your favorites.
It's true. It's true. It's like top of the list of 5 or maybe 10. We met in graduate school for marriage and family therapy. Justine was getting her certificate, and this was her second graduate school because she's a fan of learning. And we met because in therapy counseling school, you often do like role plays. You practice doing therapy on non-clients before they let you in to see like real humans who need healing.
Yes.
And so Justine and I were assigned randomly to a role play. I don't remember anymore what we were like supposed to be demoing, but I remember like sitting down in front of her, and like every time I tell the story, I have this like clear memory of her and just being like so impressed. And I was like, this human is so cool and so wise, and I want to be their friend. And 5 years later, I was.
And in that role,
Maybe like 3.
in that role play, did you discover your love of fandom and geekdom? Did that come up early in your in your friendship, or at some point later?
I don't think it
I don't
did.
think it did. No, because I think part of that was me. Like I've always been a geek and a nerd, but it was something that I grew up having a fair amount of shame around.
Mm,
And so it was this thing that I loved and meant so much to me that I just never talked about
yeah.
with
Yeah.
pretty much anyone. And the idea of sharing it with friends was actually pretty frightening because I was like, well, then I won't be cool and they won't want to be my friend.
Right. Right. So let's talk about that geek identity because you are not the
Hmm.
first two therapists who I've met in my world of expressive arts where people declare, hey, I'm so and so and I'm a geek. And it's
Hmm.
become a badge of honor. I call myself a pop culture princess or a pop culture nerd
Oh,
more than a
Hmm.
geek. That's my moniker. But I feel I really blend with the geeks very well because of that, common nerdiness. So,
Hmm.
yeah, let's talk a little bit about that. Just kind of piggybacking off what you said, like what does it mean for you to identify in that way or connect with that and how you have overcome those shame layers with it.
I mean, I think a fair amount of it was my own personal therapy work that I did. And then the rest of it, honestly, I think a lot of it was with you, Justine, that you were, I mean, at least my experience of you is that like you were out and loud and proud about who you were and all the
Hmm.
geekdoms that you were a part of. Um, and I remember the first time I walked into Yoga Quest and you had all this different paraphernalia on the walls. And I was like, oh, some people just show this side of themselves to strangers.
Yeah.
And I was like, God, that's different.
Yeah.
Which in Minnesota could mean I hate it. The word different is like, oh, that's
Hmm.
different.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's true. I didn't mean it that way though, but I'm glad that you clarified. But it was more just like something that I had never really considered. And I'd never heard of conventions before I met you. I had
Hmm.
no idea they could be fun. Um, and like I said, I think that's part of why it took us a while to become as close as we are now, because I had to move slowly and move through that fear.
Hmm.
Hmm.
And as I was dismantling the shame I had around it in my own therapy, I still had a lot of fear about doing it in public. And to be honest, it's only been because of this book and
Hmm.
having to be public with it and promote it that that's kind of been like the final step in my journey to integrate this side of myself now in my professional world as a therapist here in Chicago, honestly.
Wonderful. So what about you, Justine? Is it something you've always kind of been out and proud about, or did you have some of Larissa's same stuff with it?
Yeah, well, as a young person, coming up in as a teenager in the 90s, it wasn't cool to be a nerd. Yeah, right. And I was a theater geek, and so, like some of my theater friends were into some nerdery. Um, but when I decided that I wanted to be a yoga teacher, yoga came before therapy. I very much like tried to put on the yoga outfit, right? Like I was cosplaying yoga teacher, and there was no intersections
Hmm.
with yogis at the like I it was the like 2010.
Yeah,
Anyway,
that feels right.
yeah. There weren't any intersections. Like all the yogis I saw were either real crunchy
Yeah.
or real like you want a beach booty, right? Uh, and I was
Hmm.
like, okay, well, I like crunchy better than beach booty, so I guess that's the shirt I'm putting on.
Hmm.
Um, and as I started training to be a yoga teacher, as I was teaching classes, the feedback I kept getting was like, you're being inauthentic. We can tell this isn't your voice.
Mm.
And I was like, well, F you. Like, I'm just cosplaying what you told me to cosplay,
Right.
right? And it took quite a while actually for me to look around myself and go, okay, what is wrong? Because something doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
And, I was working in this big box yoga studio selling yoga mats, which I didn't want to do,
Mhm.
and teaching classes that were completely scripted, which I
Mm.
didn't want to do. I was like, I am forgetting this entire part of myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was like in that moment I was like, I'm not engaging in my geekery at all, and like that is a big part of my identity.
Hmm.
And around that time I went to my first convention,
Hmm.
and I looked around, I was like, why is nobody telling these people that they're worth it?
Hmm.
Why is the narrative still geeks and nerds need to be put in a corner and, told they're wrong and bad and all of that? And I was like, no, today I am leaving big box yoga. I'm creating yoga for these weirdos. And that's what I did. And Yoga Quest was born. And it was really like an identical journey with therapy too.
That's
Yeah.
amazing. And just so people who are not familiar with your work have a little bit of context. So I know Yoga Quest is a studio. I know I've
Mm-hmm.
been to your studio, but you
No,
do
not anymore,
not
sadly.
anymore. Oh, the new
Yeah.
world, yeah.
Brave new world we're all in.
Yeah, but I've also known a lot of your work to happen at conventions. So
Mm-hmm.
tell us how that, I mean, you gave us a little bit of the origin story of that,
Yeah.
but tell us what you do at these conventions with teaching these really themed yoga experiences.
Yeah, so what I do is I pair yoga asana, so moving your body, with pop culture stories, which I prefer to call modern mythologies because I think that's
Oh,
what they really are.
Oh,
Um,
yes.
and sometimes I do straight up scripting, like I will write up a fan fiction adaptation to something from pop culture and I'll assign yoga poses to certain words, actions, objects in the script I've created. And it's kind of like Simon Says, where, you just follow along. And my philosophy is we're hanging around each other to play.
yeah.
And if any of these movements don't feel okay in your body, if you aren't having fun right now, do something else.
Hmm.
Yeah.
If you want to sit down and listen to me tell you a story, it's still yoga.
Yeah, for sure. Hey, Justine, a question I've been dying to ask you, is there a fandom you don't follow?
Oh,
Because
sure.
yeah, no, just because, and the reason I asked that is even in reading the 4 chapters I have in the book, I'm like, they've covered so much ground already in 4 chapters and about all these different
Mm-hmm.
fandoms. And like when I see you post online, it's, oh, here's a new yoga experience to this thing. And when the
Mm-hmm.
Baby Yoda phenomenon hit reality, which I'm so glad it did, you had that blog up right away about why we love Baby Yoda so
Yeah.
much. So yeah, help me, I mean, for both of you, help me understand your
Mm-hmm.
process about like what are you gravitated to in the way of fandom? Because I've also seen you,
Mm-hmm.
Justine, like cover the range of from supernatural to
Yeah.
Yeah.
Star Wars. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
what
to be
draws you?
fair, with Yoga Quest, I did train other people how to write them.
Okay,
So
So I mean, they
that's
brought in their fandoms, but like also to be
right.
fair, Justine, your fandom knowledge is really comprehensive.
Oh, thank
yeah.
you. I d-
Like I was struck by
that
that
made
too when
me
I
feel
first
very
met you and
proud.
walked in the studio. I was like, my God, this person like loves everything.
That was my experience too at the studio. Yeah.
And like is totally not a part of, like sometimes there's like mild, anywhere from mild to like severe, like fighting between fandoms, like Star
Mm-hmm.
Wars versus Star Trek, Harry Potter versus Lord of the Rings. You do none of that.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Why can't we all just get along, like Mr.
Oh,
Rogers taught us?
sure. And like all parts are welcome. All fandoms
Mm-hmm.
are welcome.
And I just teared up a little bit at the Mr. Rogers reference I read in the book. Yes,
Mm.
that's pretty
Yeah.
amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So tell us a little bit about uh, the technical. I'm being a real interviewer now. The
Ooh.
technical definition of fan fiction, because I think a lot of people have heard the term or have heard the term and can surmise what it means. But even that feels like its own subculture that's out there with fan
Mm-hmm.
fiction writers. And so, either of you, whoever wants to answer first, how would you? What is your working definition of fan fiction?
Yeah. So folks need a little bit of vocabulary.
Mhm.
So what? Come on in and have a seat at Professor Justine's Fan Fiction Academy. Um,
I'm now picturing you in a hat and with a wand.
I
I
like
would
that.
picture her in no other way.
Mhm.
I don't know why that isn't what I wore to this interview. Um,
Next time.
next time. Um, so anytime we watch something, read something created by an artist or a team of people, that is canon. That is the story that was written,
Mhm.
right?
Or
Um,
filmed.
or filmed. Uh, that's the canon. And sometimes the canon doesn't reflect the world we want to see. You know, if you folks at home are in any kind of marginalized position, you probably have experienced this where you watch something, read something, and you're like, hey, where's me?
Yeah. Or my relationship, or my family, or my friends.
Mm-hmm. And what fan fiction does is it invites the consumer, the watcher, the reader, to fix that story
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
and make it more what they want to see.
Mm-hmm.
So in if you go to Archive of Our Own AO3, which is the biggest fanfic site on the internet, you can find anything. So you can see different ships, and ships refers to who you wish were in relationships in a
Okay.
story.
Okay.
Um, and lots of slash, and slash is queer relationships.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Which are still really sorely lacking in pretty much all of mainstream media canons.
mhm. It's especially queer folks allowed to be in a relationship and then survive the rest of the show.
Right.
And it's interesting because as you're talking, I'm making a connection to a
Mm-hmm.
practice called midrash,
Oh,
which
sure. It is Midrash.
it is midrash. Yeah, so
What is midrash?
it's a Hebrew, yeah, it's a Hebrew
Mm-hmm.
term. It's a Hebrew practice primarily. And I learned it through my expressive arts teacher, who's like
Mm-hmm.
the most expressive Christian you will meet. So there's like a lot of
Wow.
spirituality I was trained in expressive arts.
Mm-hmm.
But midrash is a practice where basically you fill in the blanks. Like there's so
Yeah.
much of Jesus's life, for instance, that's not documented in the Bible. So how can you drop into a meditative place and write? And another like modified midrash we've done in some of our expressive artwork is imagine two people from two different universes sitting down and having a conversation together.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so I've never thought of it that way, but
Yeah.
it totally is.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and really both these things are a continuation of what happens every time you engage with a work of art, which is you're co-creating the story.
Mm-hmm.
How you view it, what you see, what you emotionally respond to, whether you're reading or watching it or listening to it, that's all coming from you. So the experience of the story that you walk away with, it is partially what was put on the screen or on the page,
Mm-hmm.
but the rest of it is you and what you filled in.
Right. And even as we're talking, I'm making a connection of how, as a little dissociated child growing up in a lot of
Mm.
drama and having connected to a lot of universes already when I was a kid, I would often picture myself in those universes. That
Yeah.
was a very adaptive dissociative escape for me, and picture myself
Mhm.
interacting with a lot of those characters. And I did a lot, the Little House on the Prairie book.
Oh.
Yes.
Like I imagined, and I still can, that I'm back in the wagon with Laura and Mary as we're tooting along the prairie here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and it's interesting because I believe I've done a lot of this as a child without ever writing it down.
Yeah.
It was a lot in my head, and then when Midrash came into my practice, I think that's when I started engaging it because I never really saw myself as like a fan fiction writer. Yet being in love with a lot of these universes, this book has really inspired me. Yeah, this can be a part of your spiritual practice, a part of your expressive arts practice, part of your yoga practice.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's really awesome. So, do you both of you write a great deal of fan fiction yourself prior to writing this book?
I I only well, I dipped a toe into fanfic a couple of times. Once when I was a younger human and I didn't realize what I was doing, I just knew I wanted to write a story just like Stand By Me.
Mm.
Oh,
Uh, so
that's really sweet.
it was my fanfic Stand By Me. And then I I wrote one erotic slash fiction from Supernatural of Cass and Destiel, and only like 3 people have ever read it because I did not post it on the internet.
That was going to be my next question. Did you post it? It could be a Simon Set or a guessing game, not Simon Says, but a
I
guessing
would
game
read
that
any
like,
fanfic involving Castiel personally. So.
Yeah, so it was Dean and Cass in the Impala,
Uh,
and they were dealing with some
wow.
feelings around, well, but you know, you also had sex in here with that other angel. And what does that mean about us? And
I just really feel like you should post this anonymously so no one has to know, but like, come on, share this with the world.
we'll see.
Okay.
and what
But I
about
know
you?
But I know Larissa has written quite a bit of fan fiction.
I have, but I've never posted it. And most of the fan fiction that I wrote was when I was a kid. And I don't think I wrote anything down in my teenage years, but like you were giving voice to earlier, Jamie, I did a lot of imaginative world building. And it was survival for me growing up. And it was a way to create this really safe space with these characters that I loved and that I felt really cared for me. And it was, like you said, it was a very adaptive form of dissociation in some ways, and certainly at certain times. But my first fan fiction, which I think is what Justine is alluding to, is that I wrote Secret Garden fan fiction as a like 7-year-old, because I
Yeah.
was really into the Secret Garden books, and I was really upset that there weren't any sequels, and my library didn't have any other books written by Frances Hodgson Burnett, who wrote The Secret Garden. So I was like, I'll write my own story, my own sequel.
And you did.
And I
And
did.
and now we can both say that we've written quite a bit of fanfic
Right.
because we wrote what the fanfic that is now my favorite thing in the world, which is therapist fanfic. Who would you like to have in your office and what would you
Yes.
like to work on with them?
I have done some of that casework in my other books, and so I've been delighted. And even when I teach a lot of clinical courses, we'll use quote unquote famous people or fictional characters as hypothetical cases. So yeah, I'm really, really glad that's incorporated in the book. For those of you watching now, I'm with the authors of Starship Therapise. If you've just dropped into the live cast, I see more people have been dropping in as we're going. So before we continue with the interview, if you're here right now, right at this moment, in the comment, enter the phrase enter to win, because we are giving away one complimentary copy of Starship Therapise today, compliments of North Atlantic Books. So if you would like to be entered to win your free copy, use enter to win, or you can hashtag enter to win in the comments, and those will be the names that we'll draw from for giving away the book. Yeah, this is fascinating because even talking to both of you, I'm making a lot of connections for myself about worlds I gravitated to as a young person. I think one of the first pieces of evidence of my bisexuality is that I had an equal crush on Linda Carter and John Schneider as Luke Duke in Dukes of Hazzard.
I love it.
I had the Dukes of Hazzard toys because there was something about that world, and I hardly remember the episodes, but I was 3 or 4, and my mom just knew I gravitated towards it, and I have
Oh,
multiple homages to Wonder Woman here in my office and space, and yeah, this is just too cool. So tell us how the book came about. What was the genesis of the book?
yes. Larissa?
Sure. The genesis of the book was the Olive Garden. That's
Wow.
real.
Not the
How? Let me
secret garden. Not the secret garden, the Olive Garden.
the Olive Garden, though it is like, I'm glad you pointed that out. Gardens seem to really be a focus here for us in our like best friend mythology. So I had just told Justine that I was moving, and an important piece of the story is that I was also at the time, I had a full-time gig somewhere else, but I was doing part-time outpatient therapy contract work with Justine at her amazing and wonderful practice, Blue Box Counseling. And it had always kind of been our plan that eventually I would like quit my full-time job and I would be full-time at Blue Box, and we would like build this practice together. And then as fate would have it, my husband got this like fabulous job offer here in Chicago that we couldn't pass up. And so I was going to move. And so I had just told this to Justine at our like supervision, because we were still working towards our licensure. And so it was after supervision, we go to the Olive Garden. I don't remember which one of us was crying, probably me, a little bit you. And I was like, we're going to find other projects to work on. I know that I'm moving and I know it's not going to be the same, but like, this isn't going to end. You know, our creative collaboration isn't going to end, and the friendship isn't going to end. And I remember, and this is when you did really start to tear up and cry. You were like, I want to believe you, but I don't.
Yeah. Which says something about my history, right?
And at that moment, over the breadsticks, I made an internal solemn vow that indeed we were going to work on projects together. And the book was kind of the next thing that we talked about. And the podcast came first because, as I'm sure you know, Jamie, it takes a while to write a book and find a publisher, but that was the beginning.
How wonderful. So, this is a question I have as somebody, I've written books myself and I've written with two other co-authors, other books. And so, what was your process like working together? And are you still friends at the end of it?
Yeah, great question. Y yes, we are. I mean, I would say we're maybe even better friends
Yeah.
because,
I love to hear that.
We are.
did we get in a couple of tete-a-tetes? Sure. Uh,
Sure. One over the writing schedule. I was like, we need to do it this way and at this time. And you were like, you need to calm down.
well, I was more like, that is unrealistic, friend. um, and one we can laugh about it now,
Oh,
but
yes. I love this story.
the we have this adorable art in the book,
Yes.
and for each of the at the end of each chapter there's either a yoga sequence or a mindfulness meditation, and each of those are accompanied by this just adorable art by our friend J. Salvador Ramos. And
Who's the
one,
artist behind Super Emo Friends, if any of you are
yes,
familiar.
which is amazing.
How well this is coming through.
Oh yeah,
Oh, it's so beautiful.
there's
Billy and his
Billy
gremlins.
Peltzer and his gremlins.
Mhm.
Uh,
So,
but
continue.
it was the pictures of Arya Stark,
Yes.
and I wanted to change her extended side angle because the feet were wrong. But Larissa could not roll with me on how the feet were wrong,
No,
and we
I
got in
was
a legitimate argument.
a rolling pin was involved because I was trying to demo what I was trying to say. Because of course we had to write the book virtually, in large part because of the pandemic.
Pandemic, yeah.
Uh-huh. And I think it was at the point that I got the rolling pin out that you were like, we're talking about this later.
That's all you need to start that story with. A rolling pin was involved. There's a writing prompt. I think that's an amazing writing prompt right there.
Um, but other than some of those, I feel like our writing process is so seamless and like integrated, and we do it on Google Docs. So like we usually call each other on FaceTime. So we're in the Google Doc at the same time. We can see and hear each other. And then we just take turns writing.
Hmm. That's
Yeah.
beautiful. That's beautiful. So, how would you like to see therapists use this book?
Oh, so we when we first started talking about writing a book, we thought we would write a book specifically for therapists.
Hmm.
And we're like, well, but we could write a book that's both for therapists and for lay people. And we're like, no, that's too complicated. We're going to write a book that is speaking to lay people that
Hmm.
therapists can read and gather information from.
Yeah.
Um, my hope, I can't speak for Larissa, but my hope is that this can become a cultural competency tool.
Yes.
Mhm. You
Because
do
there is
that so well.
still,
The messages you weave in.
thank you.
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
well,
you.
there's still so much stigma around
Hmm.
folks who are outside the mainstream in our culture.
Yeah.
And lots of therapists still pathologize
Hmm.
folks who cosplay or LARP, that's live action role play for folks who don't know.
Yeah.
Like, well, this is escapism and that is somehow bad. And yeah, I would love for
Yeah.
therapists to read this and go, oh, this is really normal. I just don't understand this culture. And that's my work,
Yeah.
not something my client needs to fix.
Mhm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But then too, I think there's all manner of therapeutic techniques and skills and tools that I think clinicians could really use and bring into the therapy space. And also, I mean, I all the time will read articles or sometimes whole books with clients. I think it can be a really helpful part of the therapeutic process. I'd love for therapists to invite their clients to read the book simultaneously with them and
Yeah,
process it and talk about it in session.
that's amazing. So much, yes. And something that I really emphasize in my teaching of expressive arts therapy, and for those of you watching who don't know the terminology, as expressive arts therapists, we're all of the above people. So whether it's dance movement, whether it's visual art, whether it's writing, whether it's music, drama, role playing, cosplaying, it's all on the table, right? And it's recognizing it's not about outputting something that's going to hang in a museum. although if it
Yeah.
does, party on. It's about having a vehicle to express what you've been hiding and share your story with the world. So, I mean, I told you, Justine, I'm definitely adding this to our expressive arts therapy reading list because it just
Thank
Oh,
you.
right in what expressive arts therapy is about. And something I teach folks is if you're going to share these with clients, I really encourage you to do these practices yourself first. And so I'm all about writing a book, and even the new book I'm working on with North Atlantic is for the general public. And hopefully clinicians can read it and be like, oh, yeah, I better do this work too. And it'll help me
Right.
better understand folks.
it's a parallel processing.
So the last thing I really want to unpack, it's going off of something you said a minute ago, Justine, because I'm a specialist in dissociation, and that's the new book I'm working on with North Atlantic, and I'm all about all kind of conversations with destigmatizing dissociation.
Yeah.
And what you said about escapism really struck me because part of what I try to get clinicians to see is okay, well, maybe escapism's a value judgment, but even if it is escapism, is that all bad?
Right.
Is that maladaptive?
Mm-hmm.
And I think like so many things with dissociation, it can exist on a continuum, of course. Like I love binging my shows, and I'm not into the amount of fandoms you are, but I'm into quite enough that it's my sanity.
Yeah.
And I share this when I train a lot that watching TV, or binging can get a bad rap.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
And in the evening, that is my self-care. Is laying down and watching shows, and it really helps me rest, and Misty, my little one, will lay down with me. And when I take days off, because I do give them to myself, I will often binge. And to me, it's actually the opposite of dissociation doing that because it gives me permission to use my creative connections to help me actually feel things and rest. Because when I'm laying
Yeah.
down and engaging, I am resting my body and being open to feeling. And so, I think part of where the line is if somebody's binging 24/7 and it's getting in the way of them interacting with life, then yeah, we might have what therapists would consider a problem. But yeah, if you're going to judge any of this as escapism, in my opinion or experience, a lot of the therapists who will judge it as escapism, they're escaping in their own ways,
Right.
Oh, yeah.
often into the bottle or into toxic relationships or so yeah, I really, really like what you said about this as cultural competency.
Yeah, and I mean, you stated that just beautifully because that's how I feel. I think about big moments in my life, like even as you were talking, I was like, oh, I remember, when my father passed away. It's now been 12 years,
Yeah.
and I didn't have this language then, but all I wanted, because they live in Pennsylvania, so I had to, go home for the end of his life and the funeral and all of that, and all I could think the whole time was, I want to watch Lord of the Rings. And I couldn't, like, I didn't have vocabulary for why I wanted to watch Lord. I just knew that I did.
Yeah.
And like there was something really comforting about spending time with my friends in Middle Earth in this place where I felt really safe even when these scary things were happening. And when I did finally, after everything was all closed up and I came home, I did. I cuddled up in my basement TV room and just watched Lord of the Rings, and it helped.
I relate
Yeah.
so many levels. What about you, Larissa?
This reminds me a lot of conversations around video games and the pathologizing that often get done
Just read that
around
last night in the book.
gaming and right and addiction and video gaming addiction and all of that. And just like binge watching TV, video games can be a really healing way to unwind. It can be a way to feel like, if you're feeling dispirited at work, for example, it's a way to like get in the game and have some success, feel like indeed you did beat that boss. And it can be a really powerful way for you to engage with story and with the hero's journey. I know the video game journey has been incredibly popular. It came out probably like 10 years ago. And it does this beautiful job of incorporating the hero's journey. And though it is a video game and can be used for distraction, it's distraction plus. because as you're moving through it, you are being with your feelings, and it can be just another way to reprocess some of those painful things.
And I have seen, and I don't think it's totally a gendered conclusion, but specifically men in my life have used video games to legitimately help them process something that I
Yeah, I mean,
would have had them.
honestly, Jamie, like, and well, hopefully my husband will be okay with this disclosure. We'll find out after this live is done. Um, Journey was pivotal in him recovering from a major hospitalization where he was in a coma for a week. And when he started to remember what it was like to be in the coma, because you do usually, even though they give you all these drugs and they tell you you're not going to remember things, often people do. And when that was happening, it was so overwhelming. And Journey, the video game, him playing it was, I mean, it was central to
Mhm.
him being able to go back and feel those feelings and heal and move forward.
Mhm. And thank you for sharing that, because
You're
I've
welcome.
noticed that. So a lot of people who follow my work know I have two sons. They're technically my ex stepsons. That's the relationship legally, but they're my
Mhm.
sons, and their mom is my sister,
Yeah.
ex-wife, and their family, and the boys are 16 and 20 now. And I think of all of the amazing conversations we've been able to have over the years after something we've watched together. And it could be something as like violent as The Boys,
Oh
which
yeah.
they turned me on to. And it's so cool how they have a sense of things in their world. They're like, Jamie will like this. Watch this with
Oh, I love
me. And
that.
that was
And Jensen is coming to the boys.
He is.
they got me onto Supernatural too. which was really marvelous. And yeah, I'm just getting chills at this idea of all the opportunities for processing and relationship
Yeah.
and connection, and use these. And I'm excited to do the exercise in chapter 4 in my journal, because this is something I've kind of done in my head and my psyche already, which is using fandom characters as your protector circle around you. Because in EMDR therapy, we do that quite a bit. Because I often say real people can get tricky as
Mhm.
resources, because even people who you have good relationships with can come with some baggage. And the people from your fandoms or spiritual figures, Wonder Woman is one of many for me that I already have locked in that role. And so that's just an exciting exercise. So if you're a therapist who has a bent towards creativity in any way, please buy this. Heather, who is one of my friends and students as Donatello. I know
Oh
Teenage Mutant Ninja
yeah.
Turtles is Heather's big universe connection, one of them anyway. So tell us, and this will be kind of a good note to end on, since I'm giving him a shout out today. Tell us about Baby Yoda. And Justine, I know
Yeah.
you wrote a blog to that, like why we love Grogu, our buddy, and Baby Yoda so much. And even one of my dear friends who's a therapist is like, "What is it with you people and Baby Yoda?" So I'm hoping we can rap about Baby Yoda a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, I
Wrap
would
this up.
love that. And yeah, folks at home, if you didn't notice, I've got Grogu right behind me, sitting next
Mhm.
to Kirk
Mhm.
and Spock and the book. Um, I have been using, and Baby Yoda's proper name in the show is Grogu,
Yes.
but we get to use our fan fiction powers.
Mhm.
And
Well, and also by the time the book was finished and already like in the proofing stage, that was when it became clear what
right, we
Baby
didn't
Yoda's
know
true
what
name
Baby
was.
Yoda's name
We didn't know what
was.
Baby Yoda's name was. And it was pretty much too late to like change it, because that's what happens sometimes in publishing.
That's exactly right.
Right, and we felt like Baby Yoda was gender non-binary, and so we went with they them
Mhm.
pronouns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And later it came out Grogu, at least through the lens of Rosario Dawson, uses he him. But anyway,
Mhm.
I have been using so much Baby Yoda, even now that The Mandalorian's been over for months,
Yeah.
talking about the childlike parts of us.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if this is true for friends at home, but for many of my clients, when childlike parts of us appear, we tend to want to shut them down and say, "Oh, no, that's childish, that
Mhm.
which is bad and immature." And there's all this language around these childlike parts. And I'll talk about, well, could we picture that childlike part being Baby Yoda?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Would you tell Baby Yoda to go away and never come back?
And it is truly something to see when you say that, because I do the exact same thing in my work, to see the complete emotional shift that happens for that person. And I've had people like just, it's big, it's a big thing. And sometimes tears happen because suddenly you start to realize, no, I would never do that to baby Yoda. My God, they're an innocent, they're a child, they're doing their best. Oh, that was me.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And my experience with Grogu is because I have a very active 4-year-old part within me
Hmm.
who is me, and
Yeah.
she just came alive when she met him in
Hmm.
in just such a special way. And what was interesting for me is I've always had an affinity and a connection for old Yoda too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
uh, because I had passively watched the Star Wars films as a child, and then I was actually working in the movie theater in college when the 3 prequels came out, and that
Wow.
got me back into them again. And then as an adult in my own addiction recovery with my former partner, I watched them through that lens, and it was like, this needs to
Mm.
be taught in graduate school. Why is
Yeah.
this not taught in graduate school?
Hard agree.
Yeah.
and and yes, just because I have gravitated to yoga. I always mix up yoga and yoga, but that's not
But you know
compatible
what?
because to me he is the
It's
ultimate
the
yoga
same. Yep.
teacher.
Yes. Yeah.
uh yeah, he has had a lot of he's in my protector circle. He has had a lot of higher
Yeah.
power quality for me over the years
Hmm.
as I've
Yeah.
navigated spirituality. And so then to see that someone conceptualized this young form,
Hmm.
all my
Yeah.
parts just felt very validated. So that's why
Yeah.
I tend
Yeah.
to smile and glimmer whenever I see our young Grogu.
Hmm. Well, and
Hmm.
I think it makes so much sense that you are also gravitating towards old Yoda because old Yoda was so integrated with his childlike parts.
Yes. What a beautiful way of putting that, Justine.
Totally.
You know, because he showed up and he was just so playful and making jokes, and Luke was trying to be all serious and grown up, and Yoda showed up to say, being grown up doesn't mean we have to be sticks in the mud or X wings in the swamp.
And yeah, I'm grateful to the entire Star Wars canon
Hmm.
for just so many gifts that canon's given me. And
Yeah.
and I know people can get into their passionate opinions about the prequels and the sequels and the side stories, and I get something out of all of them.
Hmm.
That
Yeah. And I think it's all variations of these beautiful stories.
right.
And why should we have to pick one? Sometimes I talk about the Legend of Zelda video game series because it's same characters, but different variations of a story. And even though now I think Nintendo's come out and been like, no, they're like different parts of the same place. And like, okay, that's a interpretation.
Hmm.
You don't have to pick any one interpretation to have it be best or have it be canon. You can choose the story that fits best for you in Star Wars. And if you can't find one, you can write your own and use the same characters.
Hmm.
And that's just as real. It's just as valid.
Amen. So once again, Starship Therapise is the new book from Larisa and Justine, who have been my guests today. It's out with North Atlantic Books right now, available wherever books are sold. And I want to announce that our winner, oh, we had somebody shout out Zelda, amazing. And Heather is our winner, our contest winner. So like I said, I know Heather, so I'll get Heather's address and I could pass it along to you to get the book sent out.
Yes.
And yes, if you're a therapist, if you're anybody who relates to any aspect of what we shared today, I really do encourage you to check out this book and pass it along to your folks. Because Larissa, what you said about possibly reading an article or doing a book along with the client in a co-creative process, this is a perfect book for that.
Thank
So
you.
definitely want to shout you out. So how can people find you? Justine, I know you have about 4 Instagram accounts for your different
Yes, I will not name all of them. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Mind Body Fandom because I take a holistic approach to healing, mind, body, and fandom. And you can also find me on my website, blueboxcounseling.com.
And yes, and Starship Therapise, which I will tag, has an Instagram page and a Facebook fan page as well. And Larissa, how could people
Mhm.
connect with you?
The best way for people to find me is going to be on our Starship Therapise accounts. So Instagram, Starship__ Therapise, our fabulous website, starshiptherapise.com, where you can also stream episodes of the pod. And then if you want to find me personally, you can find me on Twitter at SpocksAllEars, where I regularly post photos of cute animals and humans helping those animals, and late at night talk about Dragon Age.
I dig it. I dig it. So yes, as you continue to do events, I know you said you're planning a virtual book launch. I'll post
Hmm.
them here on ICM for those of you who are interested. So have a good rest of your weekend, and thanks everyone for joining us.